There is a bottle on a lot of nightstands right now. Ashwagandha, L-theanine, magnesium glycinate. Hundreds of thousands of people type those words into a search bar every month. And when you look at what they're actually asking for, it is almost never a nutrient. It is a head that will not switch off. It is lying down at 11 and still running the meeting from Tuesday. It is a chest that stays tight through a normal day for no reason a normal day would justify. So the honest question comes first. Does it work? Yes, it does something real, and I'm not going to pretend otherwise so that I can sell you a mindset instead. Here is what I want to give you in this video. What the bottle, the capsule can actually reach. What it cannot reach, no matter how good the formulation is, and where the second place you can intervene sits, the one almost nobody uses that produces the same calm from the other end. Start with the evidence because it is better than the skeptics say. For ashwagandha, there are meta-analyses pulling around 22 randomized controlled trials, roughly 1,400 adults. They find real reductions in perceived stress and anxiety, moderate in size, and they find measurable drops in cortisol, which is the hormone your body releases when it decides the situation calls for resources. Those effects are stronger in people who were already strained when they started, and they show up over 8 weeks and longer, not on the first night. Magnesium is a different case. It helps most clearly when you're actually low on it, and a meaningful number of people are. L-theanine has decent evidence for taking the edge off acute stress. Sleep effects across all of them are real and modest. Nothing, not transformation. That is a fair reading. Something in you is measurably quieter, and you can feel it, and it is not placebo theater. Now hold that result and look at what it means, because the meaning is where this gets interesting. Think about a sound in your house, say a radio in the kitchen that has been on all day. You're in the next room trying to concentrate and it is too loud. There are two places you can intervene. You can turn the volume down, or you can go into the kitchen and deal with whatever is playing. Turning the volume down is a real intervention. The room genuinely gets quieter. Nobody should sneer at it, but notice what it does and does not do. The signal is still being produced. The station is still broadcasting. You have changed how loudly it arrives, not whether it arrives. That is what the capsule does, and it does it well. Stress is a response. Your body produces it. The supplement acts on the production line on how strongly and how long the response runs once it has been triggered. It works on the volume. What it does not touch is the thing generating the signal in the first place. So what is generating it? Your head has a filing rule you never agree to. Anything finished gets archived. Anything unfinished stays on the desk. A psychologist named Zeigarnik noticed this about 100 years ago, watching waiters in a Berlin cafe. A waiter could hold every detail of the open orders, table by table, without writing anything down. The moment an order was settled, he could not remember it at all. The mind does not store unfinished business the way it stores everything else. It keeps it active where it can be re-erased at any moment. That is called the Zeigarnik effect. And it is the most useful single fact I know about why a head will not switch off. Because look at what your evenings actually contain. The meeting from Tuesday that you are still running at 11 is not a memory. It is an open question. Did I come across as lost? Do I need to fix something before Friday? The tight chest through a normal day is not about the day. It is the weight of the questions you are carrying that have no answer yet. Your head is not malfunctioning when it keeps bringing them back. It is doing exactly what it was built to do with unfinished business. It keeps the order on the desk until the order is settled. You can watch this in the simplest way. Two people get the same message from their boss. Can we talk tomorrow? One of them reads it as a calendar question. Nothing opens. He goes to sleep. The other one's mind opens a question it cannot close tonight. Is this the beginning of losing my position? And a question that cannot be closed tonight does not wait politely until morning. It gets re-raised every hour or so. His head checks whether the answer has arrived yet. Same event, same words on the same screen. The difference is not resilience, and it is not nervous system quality. One head is holding an open file and the other is not. This is why the capsule keeps landing on the volume and nowhere else. You lower the volume and the room gets quieter and you sleep better. And 8 weeks in, you feel more like yourself and the questions underneath have not been answered. Not one of them. They are still open, still on the desk, still being re-raised, just more quietly. So the bottle runs out or the season piles enough new questions on top and the whole thing comes back at full strength. And you conclude that it stopped working or that you need a stronger stack. It did not stop working. It was never working on that layer. And this explains something people find genuinely confusing about themselves. You can be calmer and still not okay. Measurably calmer, sleeping better, less reactive, and still underneath a low certainty that something is unresolved and something is coming. That is not a contradiction, and it is not you failing to appreciate your own progress. It is exactly what you would expect when the volume drops and the files stay open. The signal is quieter, nothing has been settled. Now, the strongest objection to everything I just said, and it is a good one. Some people are not carrying vague questions. They are carrying real ones. The job really is unstable. The diagnosis really is serious. The money really does run out in March. For that person, hearing that their stress comes from unfinished mental business can sound like an insult because the business is real and what they need is sleep and a functioning body to handle a genuinely hard year. That is right, and it changes nothing about the mechanism. It changes what you do with it. If the question is real, your head is right to hold it. And turning the volume down is the same move because you need to function. Nobody should white-knuckle a real crisis to prove a point about psychology. But even there, notice what is actually circling at 2 in the morning. It is rarely the real question, the one with edges. How do we cover April? It is the tale your mind has extended out to its furthest reach. What if it all unravels? What if I was never competent to begin with? The real question can be worked. The tale can only be carried. And the tail is doing most of the circling. So here is the claim I want to make plainly. The same calm the capsule cells can be produced from the other end, not instead of it, from the other end. You can close the loops, and here the cafe observation gets specific because the waiter's memory did not release an order when someone told him to stop worrying about table 9. It released the moment the order was settled. Your head works the same way. It does not close a question on reassurance. It closes on an answer. And only 2 things count as one: a decision or evidence, which is not the same as thinking yourself calm. Thinking yourself calm mostly fails, and everyone who has tried it at 2 in the morning knows it fails. Because rumination is a question circling without any procedure for answering it. 3 moves to improve it, and they go in order. First, make the pressure into a question. Most of what keeps you awake is not a sentence, it is a pressure with no shape. And a pressure with no shape cannot be answered. So it just runs. The moment you write it as an actual question in flat words, you have converted a mood into something that can be settled. Something like, am I going to be told on Thursday that my work is not good enough? Moods cannot be settled. Questions can. Second, answer everything that can be answered from where you sit. And here is the strange, generous part of the mechanism. Decision counts as an answer. If the answer is not available tonight, deciding exactly when and how you will get it also closes the file. Researchers who followed up on Zeigarnik's work found exactly this. You do not have to finish the unfinished thing to quiet its intrusions. You have to give it a concrete plan. I will ask him directly Thursday at the one-on-one, written down with the day attached. Your head stops re-raising a question the moment it can see the path to the answer, because as far as the mechanism is concerned, the order is in progress. Third, some questions only reality can answer, and for those the move is to go get the answer small and early. The smallest version of the thing that returns real information within a week. Send the shorter message. Ask the question directly. Show the rough version to one person who will tell you the truth. Not because it is brave, because your body files an answered question differently from a postponed one, and it can't tell the difference, and it does not take your word for which is which. I can tell you what this looked like for me, and it is not a heroic story. When I was getting ready to put my book, Master Your Life script, in front of people, I noticed the same tightness that puts those bottles on the nightstand in the first place. Not about the writing, but one question I had been carrying for months without once saying it out loud. Will this survive contact with real readers? That question was open every night. My head re-raised it on schedule. And it did not care that I had already worked a full day, because unfinished is unfinished at any hour. Inside did not close it. I had the inside for weeks and slept badly anyway. What closed it was showing rough versions to real people early, before they were ready at small scale, which was nothing more than asking my question out loud and letting reality answer it. Some of it landed, some of it got picked apart, and a few pieces got picked apart accurately, which stung for an afternoon. And then the afternoon ended and something unfamiliar happened at night. Nothing. The question had an answer now, partial, imperfect, some of it uncomfortable, and I had put the file down anyway, because settled is settled. You cannot argue your head into that. You can only hand it the answer. So the verdict back on the bottle where we started. Keep it if it serves you. If you are actually low on magnesium, that is a deficiency, and correcting it is just correct. If you are in a loud season and you need to sleep so you can think, take the help. There is no virtue in a worse night. There is no shame in the volume knob, and anyone who tells you otherwise is selling a different kind of purity, and it is not a better one. But do not let it be the only thing you do because of what the evidence itself says. The effect is real, moderate, and it is tied to you continuing to take it. That is the profile of something that manages a symptom well. Closing loops has a different profile. It compounds. Every question you settle stays settled, and every file you close teaches your head that files get closed here, which makes the next one easier to face and quicker to put down. That game does not wear off when the bottle does. Nobody has to keep taking it. One is maintenance, the other is capital. And here is the thing to do tonight, because this is the layer people skip. Take the thing that will be running in your head when you lie down. You already know which one it is. Write it as a question, one flat sentence, the way you would say it to a friend, with the uncomfortable part spelled out and not softened. Then settle what can be settled from your desk. If the answer exists, write it down. If it does not exist yet, decide when and how you will get it with a day attached and write that down instead. And if it is a question only reality can answer, pick the smallest version that returns the answer within a week and put it on the calendar tonight. Your head is not broken and it is not your enemy. It is a waiter who takes the job seriously. It will hold every open order, all of them, at any hour for years if it has to. And it will put one down the very moment it is settled. Not a minute before and never because someone told it to relax. The capsule will make the carrying quieter. Nothing wrong with quieter, and on a hard night it may be exactly what you need. But it cannot go into the kitchen and settle what is playing. Only you can do that, and the doing is smaller than it looks. Most open questions close in less time than you spent carrying them. So when you reach for the bottle tonight, and you might, and that is fine, ask the second thing alongside it. Not just, how do I get quieter? Which question is my head still holding open, and what would count as an answer?